Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the short story taken from Reddit with the author's approval. Just quickly, the previous version of this video had audio skips in them caused by, I'm not entirely sure, I think it's the USB interface. Anyways, I had to re-record it, and this is the re-recording, so there shouldn't be any skips in this one. And, as always, I hope you enjoy. The Man Who Found Humanity. I don't know how many times I've already told this story. I'm not even sure if I'm the best person to do so. I was merely there when it happened, for reasons that are neither noble or exciting. I was captain of the Kaloon, a fine, if old Kantari Z3 reclamation hauler. We were out there, at the fringe of civilized space, when our rays picked up an object. It was clearly traversing in an artificial trajectory, but rather slow, all things considered. Most likely it was what we were looking after. Some debris of the golden time, some relic, that got it dropped, pushed outwards from the inner systems. With our FTL, it was easy to catch up to them. Finding them was the difficult task. We did not think much of it actually drifting inwards, the spiral, but there could have been plenty of reasons. Being caught in a gravity well with a faulty navigational system that decided to come to life and burn the thruster for half a second. Who cares? We certainly didn't. We just saw a way to make good credits. When we got a closer look and actually got the can into range of our active sensors suite, things got a bit weird, so to say. It was no pattern of ships our systems recognized, and neither was it damaged beyond the point. It even had some nuclear propulsion engine running, as if it were looking at some antiquity from a museum. But no, it was not antiquity. Well, it kinda was, but it was called the Endurance. We only learned this long after the Union xenolinguists had made their breakthrough. But it was an apt name. A name nobody needed to translate, just as a mere glance was all it took of what it went through. It was old. It was torn and damaged. Not as much as you would think, but it certainly wore the marks of age and weariness. And it still worked like a flawless clockwork. I'm so thankful that we were cautious at that point. They did not respond to our hails, did not react to our signals, not in a way that we would have noticed. We could have used the cutters and ripped their hull open to reveal their secrets, but I could never forgive myself for that. So we synchronized, went into our suits, and prepared to walk in space. To knock, maybe? We did not get so far, though. Or we did not have to, as they opened their hatch themselves. And so we met in space, only surrounded by the void. He was alone. There closed the hatch behind him, and his suit looked old, just as the ship. It would have been a white at some point, but now it was just grey. His face was covered by a golden shield as he approached me, guided by some primitive propulsion system he still managed to utilize in a graceful manner. There he was. There was I. Now I knew that there were people. I knew that those most likely tried to communicate just as we did. I told my comms to look for anything. No matter what, just anything. He, though, he raised his hand. I was anxious, I'm not lying, but he just waved it and opened his golden shield as he raised his veil. What I saw was a fleshy face, organic to the eye. It had plenty of fur and was just foreign to me. But when I met its eyes with mine, I saw a being that was just as much at home in the void as I was. He certainly was not afraid, just exhausted. Relieved, maybe. Back then, I did not know how to read their expressions, neither do I know today. But I just felt it. I like to believe that I did. That was when I found the first human. After that, things went out of my way. We alerted the Union to our discovery as it was law, and without much delay, they dispatched a Verona great cruiser. It was their policy for a new contact for a spacefaring species. A display of power, if you so want, without deploying overwhelming numbers to not be mistaken for a threat. The last time they did this, well, I can't remember. In the end, it was just comical. to witness the technological marvel they dispatched to deal with that, again with an attached propulsion system. It turned out fine, though. The cruiser was large enough to shelter the humans, take them in. Not that their vessel was falling apart, far from it, but just so that they could be treated, monitored, and, I suppose, quarantined. Brought under control, if you so will. Not because we had ill intents, simply to get ahead of the issue if there was any. And then nothing happened for quite a while. Language certainly was the biggest problem, but the Union got rid of that one. So the talk started, and they took a while as well. The story we then learned, though, it went around the entire Union. They called themselves human. They had lived on Earth. They had killed their home. To us, this was known tragedy. There were just so many steps a civilization could fail and doom itself before it reached space, but we decided not to interfere. Within the inner systems, nobody was left that would even qualify for that protection anymore, though, so it did not really concern us on an everyday basis. We just knew the stuff could happen, and apparently so did the humans. But there, our expectations, based on observations made centuries ago, proved wrong. This was no doomsday scenario that just happened without escape. They make their own. Driven by desperation, they had united, started what they called the Exodus. They banded together, facing certain doom, and launched themselves to the stars. They knew only a tiny fraction could get away, but still, they dedicated everything to it, to the Orcs. Ultimately, they had to build 7 Orcs, all fundamentally different in approach to avoid a single flaw within the design or undermine the entire mission. There were no test runs for this. Each one was under the oversight of their former national space agencies and crewed by a random yet qualified selection of humans. No regard given for ethnic differences. And so their greatest undertaking started, and we could only listen in disbelief when we learned about the dimensions of this exodus. For over 1,000 years they had lived and died within their machines. Generations had passed each other as they maintained their tiny and vulnerable habitats, pushing ever forward to find the end of their journey. The ship had looked like antiquity to me, but then I realized that I was looking at a technological marvel. No other ship in the Union history or as older had ever been in service for such a long time, without pause. Endurance. How truly fitting. When they started to trust us, they told us the rough directions of the other ships had taken. Of the 7 that were launched 1,000 years ago, we found 6. And unique they were. Endurance was a can, nothing else to say about it. But then, persistence was a giant swarm of decentralized and horribly inefficient modules that were created simply to negate the impact of a singular catastrophic failure. Or tenacity. A complex of spinning sections and zero-G facilities. After their rescue, we offered them fertile grounds, paradise worlds that had never been settled on before and had been protected by the Union to be conserved. For the humans, though, for the trail that they had behind them, we thought it wrong to keep them from a new world. They had destroyed their old one, yes, but they had also earned their right to a world to call home again. What we did not expect. They declined. At first we thought that they had just gone mad or arrogant to decline such an offer, but then we realized. It was funny, if you ask me. When our xenobiologists researched their language, they did so with the curiosity of a scientist. Humans don't think much of it if they call themselves humans. Why should they? It is normal for them. But when we researched their tongue, we learned it meant being from the ground, being from Earth. I still marvel. Could they not let Earth pass? Forget their mother, replace it with another one? Or did they become what no race truly was? Did their ordeal turn them into the only, truly, void-born species known to the Union? For us, space is just a means to an end. We travel it to achieve things, get from one location to the other, to interact with foreign nations, to assist the greater good within the Union. But to them, it may have just been home. All they wanted, diligently asked for, was assistance, technology, and machinery to get their own feet, and so we did. We elevated them to our technological levels, but quickly noticed that they did not merely adapt. They integrated. They put their own twist on our designs, and we could hardly fault them for it. They had made it through space for 1,000 years. What critique could we offer that was even capable to rival with the feat that they managed to perform? Then they asked for asteroids, resources, things that existed in abundance, and so we naturally agreed. We admired them for their spirit, loved to watch their progress, and maybe even condescended them like a pet project of ours. But then it dawned on us. No mere pet would be able to do what they did, and their progress told many stories of ingenuity, their perseverance, and their power of will. Where they failed, and they often did, they picked up, learned from it, and went on, as if they had to prove themselves to us, as if they reveled in the idea to pay us back for our help, but to also be more than just a curiosity. And so they pulled that off as well. They made their home in space, all of it. Central Station is merely a token of the unity, the seat of their captain's council that oversees their patrician houses and elects the admiralty in times of need. When we think of traveling the stars, we think of humans. The Union trade is in their firm hands, so is most of the private astro mining. They became a member of the Union Senate, and only time will tell where they'll be going from here. I often get asked how I feel about them. If I had wanted to simply ignore that speck on my senses, that was the endurance. I honestly don't know. They deserve their place, and I can understand those that are afraid of their ambitions. In the end, though, I just don't believe that we could have just avoided humanity if I'd done differently. All I'm being grateful for is that we met them as friends, offered our aid where they needed it. End of story. This is a special thank you to the one, the only, the legendary Eric Hino, who has become the only Tier 6 patron. I just want to thank the T5 patrons and channel members. Bob the Dragon, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Australia the Dreamer, Tryagain95, Fudigiol, Meridian117, Alithia, Jordan Bucksbaum, Angry Marine, Albarden Gusta, and Barkey. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.